I am ecstatic at the moment with the way that thing is churning up stuff. Hey, welcome back once again to Knickers Outdoors. I'm David. That's the grandson Landon. And what we're going to do today is start with the beginning of a pond aeration system to take care. Yeah, we got to give the golden retriever some air. But to take care of the pond health and kind of clean this up a little bit and make sure that we don't have a fish kill, because we just did we stocked, I guess 100 bass and 600 bluegill and 300 shell crackers and 4 or 5 pounds of fathead minnows in here about a week ago. Now if we look on the other side, I don't know if you can see it over there. I'll zoom in, but there's a fish feeder we've got hooked up, and that thing kicks out feed at 7 o'clock every morning and 6 o'clock every evening, or vice versa, I forget which. But we'll adjust that as necessary. So, without further ado, let's open this box, see what we have in here. I just bought this off Amazon, and I'm going to run it with a generator for the first couple of days because I'm still researching how to do a solar array system for it. And you can see we get plenty of sunshine here, so we'll probably set this thing up somewhere right in here with the solar array panels. What I'm thinking about is 200 watt, maybe 150 watt, but I think 200 watts will probably do it. Solar panels, and run that through the converters, inverters, all that. Me and electricity get along like oil and water. All I know is that crap shocks you. I don't want anything to do with it. So I'm going to have to study, or if any of you guys have tips on how to do that, I'd be more than willing to listen to them. But we're gonna rig up something here. I looked at the kits for solar powered aeration online, and that seems a little steep. You're talking, $2,000 up to $7,000 I saw for one, and poor white Freddy's pockets here ain't that deep. So we're gonna rig something together and see how it works. So stay tuned for those videos. Right now, let's get this thing out of the box and set it up and see if it's going to work at all. All right, what we've got in this thing, we have inside that big box, we've got 100 feet of weighted air hose. We have a 10-inch diffuser. We have, we have a timer, bag of hardware. We'll figure all that out. Directions. I guess this is a, however you pronounce that, HQUA. HQUA, I don't know. This is the PAS 20 system, if I'm not mistaken. It's a 3/4 horse. Dadgum dogs come over here and shook all their lake water on my box. It's a 3/4 horse air compressor, and we'll pull that out. Of course, it's 110 volt, and right now I've just got a Honda generator that we're going to plug it into until we get the solar power system hooked up to it. And I'm just anxious to get it in there and see how it works to start with, so stay tuned. And if you like this kind of stuff, we'd really appreciate the subscribe. We'd also really appreciate if you hit that like button. You can also feel free to hit the notifications button. You can share this if you want. But we're really looking to bump up the subscriber level this year. So help us out there if you would. And let's get this thing out and put together and running. Say hey, Allie. Oh, there's Daisy, the setter. And there's Duke. The Brittany. Sit. Good boy. And there's Landon. Yeah, this setup couldn't be any more simple. And this is just going to be a real quick test today. It comes with 100 feet of air line. The compressor, this is a Honda generator we have for the RV in case we're boondocking. So it gives 110 volt power. This, only thing you have to do is only thing you need is a Phillips head screwdriver. You tighten the hose clamp on this end. You put the other end on the diffuser plate down here. Screw it in. Here's your diffuser. It comes with a little rubber gasket. You just screw this onto the diffuser plate. And we've already cranked it and seen that this works. So what we're going to do, since I don't have a John boat here handy and I don't feel like unloading I've got a real heavy fishing kayak that's decked out with motors and depth finders and everything else, but I'm not going to pull that down here just to sink this. The first thing I'm going to do is just chunk it out here on the dam. I'll just frisbee it out there, as the old saying goes, and we'll let it sink, and we'll crank it up and see if we get any air bubbles. And for a more permanent solution, once I determine exactly where we're going to put it and where we're going to set up this solar power station, then we'll make a more permanent arrangement, and I'll put a boat in there and set it exactly where I want it. We will tie a rope around the bottom of this diffuser plate and have it float up to the surface. Probably I saw a good idea somebody used the other day. I think it was Dino Outdoors, but I could be mistaken. But they put a duck decoy attached to the floating end of the rope, and so at least it looks like you got a mallard duck or something in your lake, even when you don't. But we'll determine where we want this thing set up and make a permanent installation. But for now, the first day it says to run it for half an hour. Since our pond is fairly new and it doesn't have a lot of debris in the bottom of it, I'm going to go ahead and run it for an hour today, and hope I don't kill the little fishies I put in there last week. If you haven't seen that video, go back and watch it. And then tomorrow we'll bump that up to 2 hours, the next day 4 hours, the next day 8 hours, and until you get this thing running 24 hours a day, if you have it plugged into an electrical power source. The house sits way up there. I could probably set this pump somewhere along this bank, but the deepest part of my pond is right here next to the dam, obviously, and since I only have one diffuser plate, we're going to set it initially in the deepest part of the pond. The bottom line is I don't want to run the expense of burying 110 volt lines all the way down here. So we're going to go with that solar, and depending on where we mount it and where we want the final placement of the air compressor set, we'll build a box for it to keep it out of the weather, ventilation fans, the whole 9 yards, and we'll try that. But for now, let's just chunk this thing in the water and see if we get bubbles. Otherwise, we can chunk Landon in the water. Eventually, we'll get bubbles out of him. What do you think about that? Tilt it back over here where I can reach it. There you go. Take the choke off. There we go. I haven't found an on-off switch on this thing. So you can see as soon as we plug it in, the diffuser is getting the airflow in there and out. Landon says, how come I can't feel it? Well, you're not supposed to. Hold this, let me throw this thing in there and see if we get bubbles.
Okay. What's point towards?
The only thing we did was toss it out there. Hopefully you'll see in a second where the bubbles are coming from, but those dogs are trying to find it right now. Little do they know it's about 18 feet under them. All right, crank her back up. Turn that little lever back. Yep, turn that back all the way. Give her a crank, and then as soon as it gets cranked, we'll turn it back like this.
Where are the bubbles?
And let's see if we got bubbles.
We don't.
We'll give it a minute. Yes!
There it is.
I don't know if you can see that, but that's working good in the neighborhood.
Yes. Okay.
That thing's really, it's supposed to be like 5.7 cubic feet of air coming out of there per minute, I guess. But that's going to keep this lake turned over really good. And, you know, that's pretty much the deepest part. Well, a little bit closer in is about where Allie's swimming right now is the deepest part. But like I said, we'll set it up in a more permanent location. And once we get rid of some of this 100-foot worth of air hose, we'll even get more bubbles coming out of it. I don't want to cut the hose just yet because it depends entirely on where we put the mounting box for the solar system and the box to house the compressor and you know, a couple of fans to keep that compressor cool, and you know, the inverters to convert the DC power back into AC power and all that kind of mess. So like I said, I know nothing about electricity except if you touch it, it'll shock the bejesus out of you. So we don't want to do that. But I tell you what, I am ecstatic at the moment with the way that thing is churning up stuff. So we're going to let this thing run for an hour. We'll come out here about 2 o'clock and shut it off. And you know, tomorrow we'll run it 2 hours, the next day 4. And hopefully next week we'll have a project going on here. Oh, she's busy pointing bugs and butterflies. You know, we initially planned on running this thing for an hour today because I thought, well, this pond's been here, this is going on the 2nd year. There's really not a whole lot of debris because we hadn't had fish in it. And there's no way that leaves or anything are falling in it because you've seen our field here. But we're standing here watching this thing bubble away, and it's only going to go for 30 minutes today because we're getting whiffs of odor from that dead water that's, you know, 18 feet down in the bottom layer to the lake. So I don't want to kill $800 of fish that we put in here last week. But it's going to run for half an hour today, and we're going to stick with the recommended routine of just doubling that every day. But that's an impressive amount of air coming up out of this thing. Hopefully next week we'll have a project going on where we assemble all that solar power to DC to AC conversion and get this thing mounted up. So stay tuned for that. But like I said, if you like this stuff, this is kind of off from what we normally do. It's normally tractor stuff, and we've got a lot of that coming up this coming week because Thursday they're coming out to mark off where the permanent sidewalk goes, and then before they pour it on Friday, I have to have the drain pipes for the gutters buried underground and out into the yard. So we're going to use the backhoe to with the smaller bucket on it to run those lines out from the gutters and then get that mounted in the yard. So, and then my wife's up there right now, Carrie Beth, she's up planting landscape. So we got a lot going on here. A lot of it involves tractors, backhoes, front end loaders, taking mulch out of the mulch pile to put around the landscaping, and just all kinds of stuff. We'd appreciate a like and subscribe. And until next time, we'll see you. Bye.